What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and I just got done playing about 10 hours of Assassin's Creed Origins. Normally, I make it a point not to talk about a game until I've basically finished it, but with this, I don't think I'm going to. It's not that it's boring or just really bad, I just don't have a drive to keep going at this point. Bayek and his story just don't really suck me in, so I just want to do kind of an off-the-cuff impressions, a quick and dirty review, because so many of you have been asking what I think of it. Let's start with what I think is the biggest change of this sequel, which is the combat. In the 2 years this game has been away, it seems like they've completely redone how we interact with the world, but nothing is more drastic than just flat ground fighting. You and another foe beating the crap out of each other. Normally this game, it worked on a system called the Puppeteer, where basically B would be your left hand, A would be your right hand. Everything was based around very one-to-one transactions. That was because the series was so obsessed with finding its own sort of realism. I think it was a good move to kind of abandon that and move more towards a typical video game sense. We now have a much more typical style of control. You have a strong attack, a weak attack, a block, a dodge, and of course your bow. Using a combination of these, it gives you so many options. For example, a strong attack can deflect their blows or make you get inside their guard. If it's somebody who's guarding a bunch and holding up their shield, one giant strong attack can push them aside and open them up for a giant follow-up strike. It makes it where there's almost sort of a rhythm. There's sort of like a dance to each fight. There is a correct way and an incorrect way to each encounter. I like this because it made it where even if I was accidentally caught in a fight against a guy who is much higher level, I could still defeat him if I kept things moving smoothly. If every single dodge was right and every single one of my hits was just into his perfect weak spot, I could kill people who are 3 or even 5 levels higher than me. Oh yeah, I should probably go into that real quick. The leveling system from the recent Assassin's Creeds is back, and I don't really like that. It's so weird that, I don't know, having us actually play this like an RPG. I always liked the earlier Assassin's Creeds because I felt so powerful. If I tracked my target, blended in, and did everything right, then I could take him out and get away undetected. Whereas here, now I have to worry about being good, being hidden, and also being the right level. There are times in this game where I found some sort of side quest that seemed interesting, and while following up on leads, I hit a part that was just impossible to progress. There'd be one soldier who was just slightly higher level and could kill me in a single hit, which doesn't make sense. Why is it that this person is just magically stronger than everybody else when really we're all just people? This can be partially counteracted with the stealth system. If somebody is a lot stronger than you, well, a stealth attack is still going to do a bunch of damage. Sneaking up on somebody and, say, stomping on them while they're asleep will automatically do hundreds and hundreds of damage. So even if they're actually much stronger than you, there's a good chance that that early advantage will make it where you can win the fight and get a bunch of extra experience points in the process. That is pretty cool, and you know, I have to say that this feels much more video gamey, and I think that was a very smart choice. There's always been this sense of simulation to the Assassin's Creed games that made sense within the universe. I mean, we are a person walking in the footsteps of their ancestors. We're going into the Animus in order to try and explore these worlds that did exist, and we need to be as true to them at the time as we can be. Well, now they're definitely just saying, screw it, we just want to make good games. And never does that feel more true than when I'm just using stealth. Sneaking around, it's so easy to grab a certain guard, pull them in with whistling, or just very minor distractions. That's really good though. I don't know, I really like the fact that they're just trying to make it a good game again, and that is really kind of what persisted throughout all my hours with this. Picking up quests, exploring environments, climbing buildings, each thing felt more video gamey, and that's good. This franchise has at times been overly serious in my opinion. They're trying so hard to be this giant, historical, amazing, epic masterpiece that they forget to just be fun. Well, finally, they're just trying to put the fun back in Assassin's Creed. Now, I can't really say the same for our hero. Bayek is an interesting guy, but I really could not relate to him at all. His struggle to try and avenge the death of his family, it just meant nothing to me. It just felt too distant, too unrealistic, and just too far from me. You know, when Ezio had his family killed in Assassin's Creed 2, it really hit me, and I think that's because it happens several missions into the game. At this point, you've talked to them, you've interacted with them, you've climbed buildings with these family members. They are part of us, and we are part of him. So when they died, it made you want to go on a very long, very massive quest to get that revenge. But with Bayek, I don't have that. We see a couple flashbacks with his son, but then he's just dead, and then it's like, alright, time to go kill everybody. Even Bayek doesn't really seem to care at times. He's talking to people, and he just seems so happy and totally fine for a dude whose kid is freaking assassinated by these evil cultists. So why should I care if he's not gonna care? On the other hand, I do think the new modern character is a very interesting touch. Somebody who's trying to get the attention of the bad guys by giving them information. I also like the fact that she's down there in this Egyptian ruin with Bayek's mummy. I thought that was really cool, the idea of really finding historical figures, getting their DNA, and then walking through it with an animus. It really kind of opens the door for the series, in my opinion, that maybe in the future we can see bigger and more famous historical figures, because we just have to get this modern character to go and find their body. Throughout all the clips you're seeing here, I'm sure you've noticed the fact that the graphics in this game are crazy. Specifically, the grass and nature, all the little details that kind of just usually you overlook are what are actually just so mind-blowing. I feel like they just had to create all new graphics engines in order to even run this. When I was trying to creep up on a target or climbing a building and just looking at the view, I was freaking stunned to see that they had managed to do this. Now, this is being recorded on a standard PlayStation 4, and I also tested the Xbox version, but really, I have to say that I'm probably going to test this on an Xbox One X, because this at 4K is going to be insanity. I really feel like we're turning a corner with graphical capabilities, where it's not just about great facial features, it's not just about shiny water, it's about building a world that seems as realistic as the one we're in. Speaking of water though, let's talk sailing. It's now possible to grab random vessels from the coast and just sail out into the sea. You can do stuff like find random quests, fight alligators, or even take over evil boats. This isn't at all like Assassin's Creed 4, and I haven't seen any like group combat in my 10 hours. For the most part, it seems like just a very interesting form of travel if you don't want to use fast travel, which is here and is very useful. I have to say that it's cool and it's beautiful, but I don't know how useful it would be. There was only one or two quests that specifically required that I get a boat, and for the most part, I found it was a lot easier to run, ride a camel, steal a horse, or just flat out fast travel to wherever I wanted to go. On the topic of exploration though, I do want to say that the missions in general they're better, but also a little bit confusing in my opinion. So much of Assassin's Creed Origins feels like it's trying to be an MMO. It wants to build this giant massive environment, but then it just sprinkles all sorts of little quests randomly throughout it. By walking through the streets, you can find a random vendor who needs protection from evil guards, or somebody who's just looking for a Book of the Dead. This is cool, but it also has this weird disconnected sense to it. I couldn't really feel moved or motivated. A lot of times, oh gosh, I feel bad even admitting this, but they were just so boring that I kind of just wanted to turn on a podcast. These random people just didn't matter, and a lot of times the voice acting was lame, the animations of their faces were just so flat, it felt like I was just picking up a random quest in World of Warcraft. It didn't matter, so I didn't get invested. The only reason I even did this stuff is because the experience bonus was so big. Just doing a couple of these could jump me several levels, give me more talent points, and give me access to better upgrades. I like the fact that I could get stronger, but I still really just hate This leveling system, it's so annoying that I have to constantly keep getting stronger to progress. If I see a target who's wandering through a city and I have a clear shot with my bow, why can't I just shoot him in the head? Why is it that it will randomly do 2 damage instead of 200 damage? This just seems like a weird way to try and slow us down and make us take more time in a world that doesn't really need our attention. I wish that I liked this game more, and I wish it sucked me in more, but it just really didn't. When it comes to the basics, like flat ground fighting on sand and just actually defeating foes to get new gear, that was really cool. The rest, I didn't really care for. You know, this game just has a lot of tiny stuff that I just really kind of got bothered by, like freaking microtransactions. I hate the fact that they actually even try and pull you in and get you addicted. As soon as you finish the tutorial, this giant prompt pops up that says, hey, we gave you some Helix dollars, which will let you skip the boring parts, which you know is going to be levels. They just want to make it where you can skip ahead, get further, and get better gear if you're willing to spend money. This game to me personally is just kind of meh. It could be better, it could be worse, but it's still pretty decent. If you're an Assassin's Creed fan, I think you're probably going to absolutely love this, because it's really just the same game in its core. It has new characters, a new world, and a very, very big map to explore, but it's not really reinventing the wheel. If you like this franchise, go into this with an open mind, or maybe, if possible, rent it. If I had to give it a rating after my 10 hours, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Nothing about this is broken, but nothing about it is really amazing. It's just you, a man in a world, and a giant quest for revenge. But how about you? Have you tried this yet? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. This kind of made me want to go back and play Assassin's Creed 2 again. You know, I may go do that. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.